Hey there, this is Elizabeth, the teaching artist for the Timken Museum of Art, with another art tutorial for you. Today we're going to be working with one-point perspective. One-point perspective is a technique in art that is used to give the illusion of three dimensions on a two-dimensional plane using a horizontal line, a vanishing point, and parallel lines, as illustrated in this picture. You can see one-point perspective in life when you see this railroad track. All the lines are converging to one point at the end of the railroad track. And the same thing's happening at the end of this road. Look at either side of the road and see how those lines all converge to the back of the picture towards one point. The same thing is happening on this bridge. If you follow all of those diagonal lines, they're going to converge on one point at the back of the picture. This cityscape photograph shows us the same thing. And then when we look at the drawing of the cityscape of the buildings, we can see how the lines converge and what parts of the buildings will be angled towards that vanishing point and what parts of the building will be facing us. This will all make sense as we move forward. I just wanted to show you these examples initially so that you'd have an idea of where we're going. Here's the example of what we're going to make today. But before we get started, I have to make sure you have all the art materials. You just need paper, pencil, a ruler, and colored pencils. All right, let's get started. Please draw a horizontal line across your paper, which is your horizon line, and then put a dot in the center, which will be your vanishing point. Then take your ruler and draw 4 diagonal lines, coming off your vanishing point and exiting off the bottom of the page. Please match what I've done here. Next, you're going to draw a tall rectangle all the way to the right of the paper. On top of that rectangle, you're going to draw a triangle. After you draw the triangle, line up your ruler with the top left corner of the rectangle and the vanishing point to create a diagonal line. Next, draw a vertical line that connects the 2 diagonal lines to make the back end of the building. Then take the ruler, line it up with the top of the triangle and the vanishing point to create another diagonal line. Next, connect the top 2 diagonal lines with a diagonal line that's parallel to the left side of the triangle you drew. Next, erase away all those extra lines so it doesn't confuse you later. Next, we're going to go for the second building. Draw another rectangle behind the first one you just drew. Draw it a little bit lower than the previous building. Connect the top left corner of that rectangle to the vanishing point, and then connect the 2 diagonal lines with another vertical line. It's going to be the back end of the building. Draw a triangle on top of the second rectangle and then draw a diagonal line from the top point of that triangle to the vanishing point. Actually, this time I just drew the line partially to the vanishing point because I knew I would just have to erase the extra. Finish off the back end of that roof by drawing a diagonal line that's parallel to that small triangle on top of the rectangle. Next, we're drawing another rectangle, much smaller, and then draw another diagonal line from the top left corner to the vanishing point and finish it off with a vertical line that connects the 2 diagonals to create the back end of the building. Moving on, we're going to go for doors and windows. On that first building, please draw me a front door that is tall and a rectangle, and then draw me 3 more smaller rectangles above that door that are going to be our windows. All right, the next step is the most complicated part of this whole drawing, but it's really not that hard if you look closely. What we're going to do is draw windows on the side of that building. First, we draw a vertical line that is the same height as the windows on the front of the building. So you line up the top and bottom of the front of the building windows with the ones on the side and make these dots. These dots are the height of each one of the windows. So that's why I'm holding up the ruler and making marks where I find the top and bottom of the windows on the front of the building. That gives me the correct height. After you get the height of the window, then you're going to take your ruler and line up the top and bottoms of those lines to the vanishing point, creating diagonals for every single one of those windows on the side of the building. Those diagonal lines are the top of the windows and the bottom of the windows. Then you're going to take that ruler and create vertical lines that's going to be the far left edge of each one of those windows. After which you will then erase away all the extra lines and retrace the entire building so that you can clearly see the work that you've done so far. All right, excellent job. Next, you're going to work on the second building. We need to draw the door, just going to be a tall rectangle with 3 smaller rectangles above it that will represent our windows. Next, we're going for the windows on the side of the building. We have to figure out the height of each window by comparing it with the height of the window on the front of the building, creating those lines to indicate the height, and then draw the diagonal lines from the top of each one of those lines and the bottom of each one of those lines to the vanishing point. This time you do not have to draw the line all the way to the vanishing point to save yourself from having to do a bunch of erasing. To finish off the windows on the side of the building, go ahead and draw those vertical lines that will connect the top and bottom of each one of those windows. Don't forget the door. Next, we're going to move to the third building. You're only going to draw windows on this one, no doors. Don't forget to draw the door on that second building. And again, we figure out the height of each one of the windows on the side of the building by comparing it to the windows of the front of the building. You draw those straight lines that you will then draw your diagonals off of. That will be the top and bottoms of each one of those windows. So the exact same process that we've been utilizing for the previous 2 buildings, we will do again. Notice how everything gets a lot narrower as it moves towards the vanishing point. That's the illusion of depth that we're going for. It makes it look 3D instead of 2D. Next, I'm going for trees on the left side of the picture. It's a little easier to draw trees because they're organic. So just give me a shape that's similar to what I'm drawing here. After you do that, I want you to draw a diagonal line from the top of the tree and the bottom of the tree. The next 2 trees you will draw will fit in between those 2 diagonals. That's how you make the trees look like they're moving back into perspective, or another way to say that is it makes them look more 3D. So the whole idea with 1-point perspective is to make 2-dimensional drawing look like a 3-dimensional scene. Erase away any extra lines and go ahead and add a sun at the horizon with a couple of fluffy clouds in the sky. Excellent job. You've now made it to the coloring part. I want you to use any colors you want. I want you to think about the time of day. You can think about the weather. You can think about the season when you choose your colors. Please just be sure to mix your colors. Don't just use one color throughout a whole entire area. Like my sky has orange and yellow. And then with my grass, I have dark green grass and light green grass. If you have those subtle changes, then it'll help your drawing look a little bit more real. One last thing I wanted to show you is that when you go to do your street and if you want to make it gray, you just use the black colored pencil and not push down very hard. And what you're going to notice when I color this in is I'm going to leave it darker in the foreground and lighter as it moves away. Having variations of light and dark in your colors helps to make your picture look like it's more real. The diagonal lines that I'm tracing over now are our sidewalks. So we need the sidewalk cracks next. So use your ruler to create horizontal lines going across your sidewalks. Make sure that each one of those horizontal lines gets closer together as it moves further back in the picture. That'll make each one of those sidewalk rectangles smaller as it moves away, which will give us the illusion of depth that we're looking for. Remember, we're creating a 3-dimensional scene on a 2-dimensional surface, and that surface is the piece of paper. Then when it comes to coloring, I want you to add any colors that you want. I want you to enjoy it and be as creative as possible. Thank you so much for taking the time to do something for yourself, and please share what you've made with us.